My name is Jesse Sachs. Hello, relatives. It's really good to be here with everybody. Um, I'm really excited for this gathering. I love this theme. It's very important and dear to me. And I'm excited to hear Erin speak on it and to hear Angel and Jonathon play about it and to hear Kele serenade us about it as well. Um, and I just want to say I love gardening. I love plants. I love soil. My primary work is as an outdoor educator and a mentor, mostly with young men identified people in the wilderness. But I do love spending time with my youngsters in my garden and in other gardens. And I find that um, teaching them to care for the soil and the earth and the plants helps them to learn to care for themselves and for each other and vice versa. And so I'm going to sing a song that has become sort of an anthem around caring for the earth and the plants and each other as people for me over the past few years. Um, and I just want to say that I'm going to use the convention of Mother Earth in this song. And I just want to make it very clear that I do not believe that the earth has a rigid gender. I believe that the full kaleidoscopic gender spectrum is revealed to us daily by the earth. And I just was raised by two moms and I love moms very much. And my mom is here. And so it's helpful for me sometimes to address the earth as mother because it just makes me it's like a shortcut for me to feel all of my adoration and love for the earth, to think of it as mama sometimes. So I mean no exclusion by it. Mama, she said unto me, do you like my garden so pure? And you may live in the garden if you keep my waters clean, and I'll return in the cool of the day. Well, now is the cool of the day, and now is the cool of the day. The earth is a garden, the garden of Mama, and she walks in her garden in the cool of the day. Well, then Mama, she said unto me, do you like my garden so fair? And you may live in this garden if you keep my grasses green, and I'll return in the cool of the day. Well, now is that cool of the day. And right now is the cool of the day. The earth is a garden, the garden of my love, and she walks in her garden in the cool of the day. And then my mama, she said unto me, do you like my garden so free? And you may stay in my garden if you just keep my people free, and I'll return in the cool of the day. Well, now is the cool of the day, and now is the cool of the day. The earth is a garden, the garden of Mama, and she walks in her garden in the cool of the day. Thank you.
Ooh, thank you.
Well, how beautiful is that? Thank you, dear Jesse. What a great kickoff musically to this beautiful spring Sunday. Happy spring Sunday, everybody, from Thrive East Bay. As a part of this beloved community, I feel so blessed to be here co-hosting with my dear sister Bethsaida, with Duncan at Technology. And boy, we got some stuff for you, but you know that because that's why you're here. So let me just say a few words about Thrive East Bay, our beloved community that brings together at the intersections of meaning and belonging and the arts and social change. We're so relevant today. We're so needed today, what we're bringing in our vibration here at Thrive. We're building beloved community. I don't know if you knew that. And if you didn't, you know it now. We're building beloved community and you're part of it. We're guided by 4 principles: thriving lives, which we all need, want, desire, deserve, and are building together. Love and action. Love is what's going to heal our world. We already know that. Shared learning and practice is what we do when we come together at our events and as we live day by day, the song Jesse just sang. And systemic change. We got to have change in there. We got to put some action to it. Jesse, I'm with you, baby. Our theme today, I love it. Grounded, healing our soil, souls, and society. It's so relevant and so important. Our guest speaker today is Erin Yu-Juin. Our guest artist today is Angel Adedokun, and she's accompanied by Jonathon Hampton. And we got our Thrive Choir members, Jesse Sachs, you just heard from. We got Brother Kele as our bookend before we close, so we're in really good hands. The flow of our time and our tech tips will be flowing through song and storytelling, ritual, and more songs together. So want to remind you to keep your sound on mute, but blow up the chat room if you want. Give some snaps, give some love, but stay on mute. And so Bethsaida is going to tee up our guests and introduce them, and I'll come back on after they get done for our ritual. So Bethsaida, turning it over to you, baby.
Hola una vez más. I am super excited to introduce our first 2 guests. And it's the first time that I'm actually hearing this beautiful angelic voice, and her name matches her voice. And so we're coming on to bring on Angel Adedokun and Jonathon Hampton, who's going to be accompanying her with music. And Angel is a bilingual vocalist, songwriter, and dancer with a musical background in salsa, plena, huepa, rock, and rhythm and blues. She served as lead vocalist in salsa band Grupo Bembe for 5 years. She is currently creating personal music, writing original scores for Oasis TV in San Francisco, doing voiceover for BACT's online platform Play On, and is putting together a nonprofit arts organization called Arts with Ronn and FLOW to make arts education more inclusive, accessible, and relevant. And accompanying Angel is our guest musician who is born out of the blues and soul of Chicago. Jonathon Hampton was instilled with the passion for singing early on as a classical trained chorister and rhythm and blues songster. He studied at Cornell University, then flourished into a choral conductor, early music purveyor, jazz Croner, songwriter, and arranger. Welcome and thank you for being here and sharing your music.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having us, everyone. All right, so first, we are going to do a piece called Stand Up. A few of you might know, have heard of it. It's originally sung by Cynthia Erivo. And I want to do this song because I feel like we're in a time where a lot of us have felt that we have lost our voices, but we in fact have not. So when it's not easy to speak up, you can choose the way that you want to speak up and stand out and be for yourself and the collective. So I hope you all enjoy. I've been walking with my face turned to the sun. Weight on my shoulders, and I'm feeling. Oh, I've got eyes in the back of my head, just in case I have to run. I do what I can when I can, while I can for my people. While the clouds roll back and the stars fill bright, that's when I wanna stand up, take my people with me. Together we are going to a brand new home, far across the river. Can you hear freedom calling, calling me to answer? Gonna keep on keeping on. I can feel it
Oh my God, thank you.
Thank
Felt that in my
you.
bones.
Thank you kindly. Um, so this next piece we're gonna do is called Ayadaba. I am Nigerian, and this song is all about bringing peace and having faith in the unknown, and just resting with that. Um, I was watching something a couple of days ago talking about the difference between hope and faith. And hope is when you're wishing for something to happen. You like really want it to happen. You're like, oh, I think it might happen. But faith is knowing that it will happen and just resting in the unknown and know that it's done. I've been practicing that for quite some time. Um, I'm getting there, but I think it's something that we can all continue to practice and just know what you asked for has been done, even if it's not showing up in the way that you want it right away. So yeah, I hope you all enjoy this. It's called Ayadaba, which in Yoruba means dove, and it's just a glimpse of faith that we should all have. So I hope you enjoy. Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Thank you. All right. As we transition back to piano, I would like to give a shout out to the wonderful John Hampton. Please go check him out. An amazing artist, conductor, teacher, everything, and pianist. You can check him out at johnhampton.com. Please go and do so. Next, we are going to perform a song called I Am Light by India Ari. I really love this song because the focus is being the light that you want to see in this world, and it's also giving to yourself what you are trying to get from others or what you're trying to get from the world. So I hope you all enjoy it. My light sees your light. I'm so honored to be here. There's been, as you know, so much happening. So thank you for sharing this space and letting us be together. I appreciate you all. am light. I'm not the mistakes that I have made, or any of the things that cause me pain. I am not the pieces of the dream I left behind. I am light. I am light. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, thank you. All right. Thank you. And again for John Hampton. Yes, yes, yes. So can you get the shaker? This last song that we are going to do, thank you. I would like to dedicate this last minute to a very amazing friend, Ron. I know you're out there, but this human being is very profound to me. I met him maybe, I don't know, it's been like 3 or 4 years, but anyway, he has worked so hard, and he has inspired me in many ways. And I wanted to shout out him and the rest of Flow, Ronn and FLOW. I love you all very, very, very much. Thank you for holding me in a lot of ways. We're a family, even when we're not together, when we're apart, when we're together. Thank you so much. So yeah, this song is called Optimistic. We sing this often together, so if you know the words, please sing while muted. And please feel free to use anything around you. You can use a pencil to jam out a bit. But the lyrics go, in the midst of sorrow, you can't see up when you're looking down. A brighter day tomorrow will bring. So I am calling in that whatever you want, claim it right now. You will have it, no matter what the circumstances are. And I hope you all enjoy, and I hope that you carry this song with you every single day for the rest of your life. All right, so I'm going to start. I'm going to start with the clave, which is a West African beat. You might hear it in salsa music a lot. And then we'll have John Hampton on chest percussion. All right, start. Within the midst of sorrow, you can see up when looking down. A brighter day tomorrow will bring. Oh, of reason, telling you this can never be done. No matter how hard reality seems, just hold on to your dreams. Don't give up and don't give in, although it seems you never win. You will always pass the test as long as you keep your head to the sky. You can win as long as you keep your head to the sky. Be optimistic, hey. Gotta be optimistic, yeah. Gotta be optimistic. Everyone at home say optimistic. Hey. Optimistic.
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 Optimistic. Whatever you are going through, know that this too shall pass, and better, much better than you can even imagine is coming for you. Love you all, and I appreciate you so much. And I'm gonna sing a little bit out. Within the midst of sorrow, you can see up when looking down. A brighter day tomorrow will bring. Oh, yes. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Shout outs to Mom, Grandma, Grandpa. I know you're watching. Love y'all very much. Thank you, everyone. Again, one more time for John Hampton. JohnHampton.com. Love y'all. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Wow. What amazing, amazing gift you have given us this afternoon. Such grace. I cried the whole time, Angel, that you were singing. I felt it in my bones. And just Jonathan's music. It's just, I can't say, like, articulate what I felt in my bones. Pero gracias. And please, in the chat, Duncan has been putting information on there where you could listen to Angel further with other artists and Jonathan. And we'll actually re-put those up in the chat towards the end. But Angel's debuting her LP, Love Always, was released in 2020. And again, I can't say much more than just thank you for your graceful brilliance. It's been amazing. Woo, okay. I didn't think I was going to be able to hold it together to.
Bethsaida, can I just say, woohoo!
Woohoo!
Yeah.
Yes. Woo, okay. Let me just take a deep breath. Now I am super excited to introduce our guest speaker for tonight. And again, I just met her today and actually bought the book and haven't read it yet. And so I'm looking forward to doing that. And so without further ado, our guest speaker is Erin Yu-Juin McMorrow. She's holds a PhD, a doctorate in policy planning and development from the University of Southern California. Studied political and social thought at the University of Virginia and served as the director of the housing policy with Los Angeles Coalition to End Hunger and Homelessness. She has a passion for regenerative art. Art. Sometimes I have a hard time saying certain words, but agriculture and specifically the health of the soil. Erin is the author of the new book, Grounded, a fierce feminine guide to connecting with the soil and healing from the ground up. She is also certified yoga teacher, um, cranial sacral therapist, and entrepreneur living in Los Angeles. And you can learn more about her as we put her uh, uh, email address on the chat as we move further. And I just wanted, before you started, Erin, I wanted to actually use this quote that was in the description of today's event. And I loved that I really connected with it. So I just want to say before you start, taking our food system back is an act of revolution. Restoring the feminine is an act of sacred responsibility. Returning to the cycles of nature is an act of love. Grounding into the soil is an act of hope. And so here we are, Erin McMorrow. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Hi, everybody. I did not hold it together. I was totally weeping the entire time. And on a personal note, it's really interesting in this moment. I'm in a grief space. So I'm caring for my 16-year-old cat who has been my soul companion. And she has cancer and she's at the end of life. And she came over and she just started purring like crazy when Angel and Jonathon were playing their music. It was an incredibly beautiful moment. So just to share that and also honor the way that just cracks us open, that whatever this stage is that we're in this transformation stage collectively, that being cracked open is what's called for right now. So thank you all to the beautiful musicians, and thank you to this collective, this group. I'm blown away. I'm so honored. I'm so happy to be here and humbled. And so from there, I just want to maybe do another grounding if we want to take a moment and just root into the earth. So wherever you are, if you can close your eyes and start to connect to the breath. Maybe put hands over heart if that feels good. And then feeling the earth fully supporting the body, feeling held wherever we are. Breathing into a central axis, so imagining a bright line moving through our bodies, out through the top of our heads to the universe, down to the center of the earth, grounding us. And maybe dropping some imaginary roots down into the earth from your tailbone or the bottoms of your feet or whatever feels good. Dropping them into rich, fertile soil. And scanning the body for anything that doesn't serve, allowing it to just drop away into the earth. Just returning it back to the mother, knowing that she can turn it into something more useful. And from there, you can draw any nutrition, any nutrients, any nourishment that you need from the earth up through your roots into your body, into your system. And take one more long, deep cleansing breath. Whenever you're ready, gently opening eyes, coming back into the space. Thank you all so much for being here. So this is my book. This is called Grounded. I've been doing this for 7 years. This is my soul's calling. This is my incarnation's message. So it's been every bit a journey. So I'm going to start kind of from the beginning, from the basics, and then we'll get into the journey part that brings me to my spiritual journey. So basically, I started from what I would call a very Western perspective with this PhD. I studied urban planning and sustainable cities, and I was looking at climate change, and I thought that I would devote my life to working for cities doing climate change related things. And so I went ahead and got my PhD, and then ended up volunteering with what I thought was a group that was doing urban gardens. And it turned out to be this organization called Kiss the Ground that has now blossomed into something else in terms of telling the story of soil health and climate change. And I was sort of struck by this concept, and I hadn't learned anything about soil in my 6 years of getting a PhD. And so that was particularly striking. And also there was some part of me that knew within me that this was the truth. This was a thing, even though I didn't know anything about it. And at the same time, I was becoming sort of literally unrooted. I was getting gentrified out of my neighborhoods in Venice at the time. And there was this massive transition moment where I needed to leave Kiss the Ground. I needed to leave California and mostly just handle self-care. So it was a bit of I would call it a spiritual breakdown moment. And I ended up being fortunate enough to go to Bali for yoga teacher training, really to refill my well. And yoga had been the one thing that I leaned on for self-care during the doctorate, which was very, very mind focused and very sort of out of body, and I ended up having like a lot of pain and things because I was sitting in front of a computer for so long and doing this really intense, heady academic work. And so when I went to Bali, that was the first moment that I really started to learn about the yin and about the feminine receptive energy. And we'll talk a little bit about more about that. And of course, when I'm talking about these energies, they're not gendered at all. It's a spectrum, and it's sort of energetic metaphors and archetypes. And but basically, it was like slow down to me, my personal self in the micro. The story, it blossoms and it goes back and forth between the macro and the micro because everything works that way, I've learned. And as I started to learn about our connectedness to nature, and I started to slow my body down, and I started to learn about just like the beginner basics of the chakra system, which I had never really been exposed to at the time, I started to learn about the root chakra and about grounding, and the importance of literally having our feet on the ground, literally being connected to our own feet, our legs, our lower bodies. What I've learned is that there's a big disconnect energetically in terms of what the tantric traditions call the lower chakras, where we're very much up in our head, often even in the realm of spirituality, sometimes especially in the realm of spirituality, and certainly in academia. And so as I started to learn these grounding practices, I started to gain access to these notions of the divine feminine and the divine masculine, which again are non-gendered, but they are archetypes. And so down the line, I've come to learn that the feminine is the receiving energy. It's the power of the ocean, essentially, oceanic power. And then the divine masculine is like the mountain. It's steady, initiatory, protecting energy. And these energies flow through us all the time, and no matter what we look like or identify with. There are these ever flowing energies that also are connected to the creative life force of the universe, whether you want to call that chi or whatever you want to call it. That has actually wound its way into an interesting part of my journey around the second chakra, the sacral chakra, which is also creativity, expression, sexuality, and is very much connected to that creative life force of the universe. And also the sense of like a kundalini energy that runs through all of us up through the central axis that I was talking about. And like I said, I had no access to any of this until sort of my late mid 30s as this academic woman, and my identity as an academic woman just started to crumble apart in the face of what I was learning and the unfurling that was beginning to happen in my world. And at the same time, I had already committed to writing this book about what I thought was specifically about soil health and climate change. So let me just break that down for you in a really basic sense, so that you know what I'm talking about, and then we'll get back to the journey breakdown. But basically, the way that it works, point one is the seed metaphor is like you part the soil and you plant the seed, and then cover the soil, and then life gestates underground, and then life is born, and then the plant grows and then eventually dies, comes back, turns into compost. But that's the mother metaphor. And I managed to get like 4 or 5 years into writing this book before I even realized that. So I was literally writing about the soil and the divine feminine, and realized at some point that this is the same metaphor, and it's the oldest metaphor of all time. So when we're bowing to the great mother, it's that great mother energy that also is connected to the cyclical nature of all things. And so this is where my view around climate change really started to shift, because so far there's been a huge amount of focus on emissions and fossil fuels, and that's a big piece of the puzzle. But what I started to learn in this process about learning the cycles of nature is that seed metaphor is also the metaphor of the moon, and it's the metaphor of the menstrual cycle, and it's the metaphor of life, death, and rebirth that runs through everything. And that's directly related to climate change, because if you scale back from the emissions story, the way that this works is the kindergarten version is that like there's the earth part of the cycle, there's the air, like the atmosphere, and then the water part of the cycle, and of the carbon cycle. And the carbon sort of moves through all of these spaces. And right now we know that there's way too much carbon in the atmosphere and way too much carbon in the oceans, unfortunately. Not everybody knows about that, but the oceans are actually absorbing huge amounts of carbon because there's so much in the atmosphere. And that's actually turning our oceans more acidic. So that's its own thing going on. And then we have not enough in the earth part of this carbon cycle. And so what we need is not just to fix one thing like driving cars or something specific. There's a whole cycle here, and the sort of air quotes broken part of the cycle is the soil earth part. And then what's even more interesting and profound than that is that the soil actually loves carbon, like carbon belongs in the soil, and the soil is in fact alive, which I don't know that I knew about that back then. Gardeners all know about how alive the soil is, and the mycorrhizal fungi and the things that live under the soil, and that the soil is not only alive, it's teeming with life, and it is, you know, it's the source of our food. And so basically what's happening with industrial agriculture and a lot of the practices that we're using with soil is we're actually killing that microscopic life in the soil, primarily by spraying pesticides and by over-tilling. And so we're breaking up the really delicate nature of these, like the mycorrhizal fungi, that hold everything together and that help the soil barter. And so the mini part of that is, like, if you imagine this is like the soil line and there are the roots that sort of go down. I always thought that the roots under that sort of soil line were doing all of the bartering with the soil, but actually there's this middleman, and that's the mycorrhizal fungi. And we heavily depend on this mycorrhizal fungi for life, which is basically this middleman bartering. And so it helps the plants get the nutrients that they need and move the water, and also help them pull the carbon down and then store it in the soil. So rich, healthy soil has live teeming little things like nematodes and things like that, worms. It's moist because this microscopic life down there helps everything that the soil needs to do. So it helps it also clean and hold and store water so that we're not having runoff. It also helps keep the nutrients and the minerals in the soil, which we need if we're eating that plant. And so if we're eating food that's coming from dead soil, we're not going to get the nutrients that we need. And right now what we're doing is killing all of that and then trying to replace it with synthetic replacements. And then all of that carbon is then being released up into the atmosphere in these huge amounts. So that's the sort of like scientific part of how this all goes together. But again, if you scale back, there's a cyclical nature to this, right? It's like these things all work together. And if we forget about one part of the cycle, something is going to break down and we're going to have a problem. And that's basically what we're facing right now. And so it's important to understand that sort of the life of the soil, the plant piece, and then how that fits with the greater altogether everything. And then what happened in my life when I got to this stage in the book was probably 3 years. And of course, I'm getting to the point where it's like, what we're birthing is birthing us. And so this book has obviously been guiding and birthing and rebirthing me through this wild spiritual journey this entire time. And at this point, once I got to come to understand the importance of life in the soil and climate change, that was when I was guided into this sense of not just the divine feminine, but the dark feminine. So there's also this sense of the blind spot that is death, and that is also feminine sexuality. So these themes run through the book. And it was interesting, I ran into so many taboo topics writing this book. And I think there's a reason why we have these blind spots in our sort of mainstream Western society, because they've been written out of the original mythology going all the way back to like the Greeks and the Sumerians. So there actually were indigenous great mother stories, and still are all over the world. There always have been. It's always been the great mother metaphor. And that at the base of Western culture, there were some major rewrites that somewhere along the line, there was great damage done to the archetypal mother. The story, for example, Hera was indigenous, like pre-Hellenic Greece. She was the great mother in that story, and she didn't have a partner. And then when there was a takeover, like a land takeover, they wrote in Zeus, and they wrote him in as a shape-shifting rapist because it was a conquering story, right? And so we're actually still running that story, and we're still telling that story, unfortunately, in Western culture. So part of what I've been trying to do here is highlight the role of story and mythology and archetype that's running our unconscious, and also start to repair these things that have been broken, and start to link around and see if we can reweave the great mother back into it in her original self. And that also means healing with indigenous peoples and lands. So thank you all for the land acknowledgement in the beginning of this, because that really gets us again to the root of everything. And there's all these metaphors, like in the United States, it's like we have either immigration or unfortunately genocide and slavery are like the three things that are going on, and that's all massive root trauma. So basically everybody in the United States has massive amounts of energetic root trauma, and I feel like that's the energetic through line of when we started to believe in private property and take over. Like I think that's a great untrue myth is the myth of private property. We can't actually own land and we can't actually own people. And once we start to believe that we can, then we get things like colonization and slavery and the harm that's being done all over the world to the soil and to women and girls and you know the history of sexual violence that actually runs through. And obviously we are opening and transforming in this conversation and everything that has occurred in the last year and a half. I feel like so much of this embodied root trauma is coming up to be exposed and also to be healed. So I feel like we're in a massive like death moment of letting go what we believed before and allowing that sort of death of the way that our society is no longer working. And climate change is the sort of front and center piece, I think, that indicates that things are not working the way that they were going before, and that our systems are not working. And so actually, to get back to that beautiful quote, when I say our food, planting our food, growing our own food is an act of revolution. There's something specific about that as well in terms of like root chakra security. So that metaphorical root chakra stands for home, tribe, identity, foundation, safety. And we feel that in our bodies individually. And if we have trauma there, we feel unsafe, we feel unworthy, we feel unhoused, we feel all of these things, and we feel maybe not at home or not at home in our own culture, in our own tribe, which I think a lot of us feel. And so that healing of that root chakra thing that's coming up right now, like I think that's what's happening, is we're finally coming to a reckoning. We're at this part in the cycles of society where we can no longer go on with this trauma, and it's creating breakdowns all over the place. And that when we grow our own food, for example, we no longer have to rely on these very sort of weak, I would say, and dying systems. Like, for example, if the food trucks stop coming one day, you know, if there's some kind of food shortage or something like that, we don't even have that kind of autonomous relationship to the earth and to be able to nourish ourselves. So there's something very specific about that. And then there's also the sense of healing the feminine, that is that receiving energy. So what I've learned is that there is only giving and receiving in nature. There is no taking. Like, taking is not a thing. And so when I say we're healing the feminine, we're also healing the masculine, because they're equal and opposite and always and running through everything. And I think that what's happened is the sacred masculine has become twisted into some kind of like toxic masculine, but also I call it patriarchy in the book. And the way I talk about patriarchy in the book is that to me, it's the ego externalized. So when we get into that like higher soul self, or our ego that's just trying to keep us safe, it's like at some point in society about 5,000 years ago, when those myths were rewritten and private property took over, that ego sort of ran wild collectively. So now what we're living in right now is an expression of that externalized ego sort of run amok without the ways of knowing intact. And we've always had ways of knowing that have been passed down to remember the great mother, to remember our souls. That's why we have ceremony, and that's why we have ritual. And for me in particular, all the way back, this moment of grief, right, with my cat. And like I write a lot about death also in this book, which is also very taboo because it triggers a lot of us because we're not facing it as a society. And so I'm looking very deeply into this as to when those chains get broken, we are unable to like grieve properly. Like we don't have community and ritual and society like fully intact right now. Now this is a beautiful example. Like I actually feel like I called this in for my own healing. So I'm really deeply appreciative of this moment and this ceremony and this day and the richness of this moment in the year and the wheel of the year, and the collective mythology that we're all living by, that when we don't face sort of the darkness of the dark feminine, the unconscious, when we don't face death, we start running in denial, and we have programs, essentially stories that are running, they're running our lives, and then creating a world that we don't necessarily want, until we go and face those things and go in and heal. Then then we'll just keep running the story that doesn't work, and we're getting, like I said, we're getting to that breaking point. And so I think the importance of repairing that dark feminine, that I mean, they're in goddess mythology, the dark goddess oversees death and she oversees grief, and she needs to be there because all things change. And the story is that the creative life force runs through everything and it just never stops. And basically we are shepherds to that, and our job is to remember and hold that memory. And when people forget and then the ego takes over, we can help them, and then we can help them collectively, and then we hold sort of this wisdom keeping all together as a collective all over the world, which frankly I know that's a big statement, but I think that's where we need to be. And that is, yeah, we got a request here. So yeah, basically it's a whole lot of things. Obviously it's incredibly multi-layered. It has taken me all over in terms of my own spiritual journey, and it continues to do so. It continues to crack me open. I think the humility that it takes to face into pain, for example, in these very triggering subjects like death or like sexuality, that our society is right now not, and the main sort of mainstream society is not only not dealing to, but is actually still causing harm. And so I feel like that's the work that we are all in right now, is this collective remembering, and we do it individually and we do it as a collective. And so one of the questions I get asked often are, what are a few like simple things that we can actually do to address these things? And I didn't talk too much about compost, but again, compost is of course the death part of the cycle of the plant. And it's the idea also that there's no waste. So like we literally need a zero waste economy. We can't, like nature doesn't waste anything. There's no such thing. So we get to repair that and find a way to make things fully cyclical in all cycles. And so compost is one way, because just putting things back, like rather than throw away compost and allowing it to then off gas and create methane, which is what it does in what we call the trash, and just exacerbate the problem that we've got. The soil actually loves this stuff. And so what we can do is take what we think of as waste and repurpose it and actually feed it back and give back to the mother. And so both at a physical level and a metaphorical level. So one simple thing to do that actually honors that death part of the cycle is to find a way to compost in your home if you don't already. And I know that's different for everybody. We're all in different physical situations. But even my agent for the book actually learned that she could take her food scraps and to just take them back to the farmer's market that she goes to all the time and drop them off. So when she gets her new ones, and she brings her vegetables home. And so it didn't take an extra step out of her life at all. And then she learned that she could keep the food scraps in her freezer, so they're not like stinking up anything in the meantime or attracting bugs. And it actually got the food scraps out of her trash, which in New York is kind of a big deal, because if you have food scraps in your trash, then your trash is smelling. So it's these simple things, but that's a big one. And so many places don't have their own compost. Obviously, if you're out in a farm situation, you probably are already doing this, or if you're gardening, you probably already are. You can also spread the word about it. It's incredibly important. And there are ways to also like politically advocate for, if it's your homeowners association, if it's your community, if it's, I mean, you guys, a lot of people here are actually in the Bay Area, which has an incredible municipal compost thing. So that's awesome. And then if you're anywhere else, I think if you could just try to advocate for it, however that goes. And it's a little bit of problem solving. There's not like a turnkey solution for everybody everywhere, but getting that in there. And then on a final note, like one of the simplest things we can also do for ourselves in the personal level, that's sort of the external, the outer work, and this is the internal work. I would say the two simplest ones are just take 3 breaths at any time. And I can always take this advice. So it doesn't mean like meditate for an hour or like get your daily routine all the way in for 2 hours a day or something. It's like set an alarm on your phone multiple times a day to just take 3 breaths and then stop and just allow yourself to actually take the full 3 breaths. And sometimes we don't do these things because they're too simple, but these are the things in this moment. For me, I've got so much going on personally. These are the things that are keeping me grounded, the simplest little ones. And then the other one, of course, is take your shoes off and go touch Mother Earth if you can. And that can be the tiniest plot of land or anything, wherever you can. And if you can't, even just taking your shoes off and just connecting with the earth like we did in the beginning of this little talk, just take those breaths and like feel the earth fully supporting you, and that will help you energetically root and feel more balanced. So I went through that really fast. I think I have about 1 more minute. There are so many layers to this. Please feel free to reach out to me if you have questions or anything like that. And thank you all so much. Thank you for having me.
Let's give some snaps and claps to Erin. That was so rich and so sweet, Erin.
Thank you so
thank
much.
you. Thank you. I loved what you said. What we're birthing is birthing us. So I want to personally acknowledge that you are here with us at this time in your life, and we're here with you, co-creating and supporting each other. We support you in your grieving.
Thank you so much.
And thank you for all that you're bringing.
Thank you. I can feel the love. It's so sweet. Thank you.
And, there is only one mind. I knew it would be, because the ritual that we're about to step into dovetails so sweetly right in here with the seed soil plant. And who knew? We didn't rehearse it, but there is only one mind, I believe, and one life. So we thank Erin, and this we like to honor the change of the seasons as we bless winter and we've stepped into spring. And this is a time of renewal. It's a time of resurgence, of rising up, of resurrection, however you choose to look at it, of rebirthing. And so we're here to do that together. And you were invited to bring a few things, but before I even acknowledge those, let me just say, however you came to this, you're in the right place. There's no right or wrong. If you brought nothing, you're still in the right place. If you brought way too much, it's okay, because this is your ritual. And you can imagine, like if you didn't bring whatever you thought you wanted to bring, you can imagine that you have it, or you can go do it later. The point is, this is about consciousness. Ritual for me, I'm a ritualist. I love it. And sure, we have things to support ritual, and it's about consciousness and our intention. So I invite you to be consciously in this space. And I'm going to ring the chimes because this is a sacred time. So let's just be in a sacred space together. And I'm going to light this candle. To mark our time together in light, in love, in richness. And so you were invited to bring in, again, it doesn't matter if you have it or not, but let me just say it, some soil with you. As Erin just talked about, the soil is so rich in its supports. And you were invited to bring some strips of paper so that we could write on symbolically, or some seeds. And what I want to do is just bless those things. Whether you have them or not, I want us to create the consciousness of blessing. So let us bless the soil that either we're going to plant in today, or just bless the soil, Mother Gaia, the richness that Erin described, the moistness. The soil knows exactly what to do its thing and grow and support and nurture. And we're going to bless the container. If we brought a container, or if we, are planting something in a pot or a little container, or if afterwards we plant outside, whatever the container is, we bless that space of growth that it has to grow in. We also bless the seeds, our ideas, our intentions, and know that they know exactly what to do. Inherent in the seed is the thing itself. And so we bless that. We bless Mother Gaia for holding the entire space for the seed, soil, plant, metaphor, reality in life, for all of nature. We bless the sun that nurtures in that planting, in that growth. It has to have the sun, just as we do. And we bless the water that nurtures. We bless the water that helps it to grow. And we bless the love that we give the plant when we plant it. For the love is necessary also to whatever we are planting. And we also bless the manifestation, the laws of the universe that work together, that make this wonderful thing happen as the harvest. And so together we come in consciousness, whether you brought these things or not. We bless all of those components that go into planting. And so I'm going to give us a few moments to be within ourselves in quiet time. If you brought the strips of paper, the idea is that we are going to write what it is we want to plant. And we can plant it in the soil, or we can put it on our altar. We can do whatever we want. This is your ritual. It's your ritual. So I'm going to just tell you the whole thing and then give you the quiet time, and I'll give you a halfway marker. And here's what we're going to think about. What lessons from winter are you allowing to blossom in spring? Let me repeat that. What lessons from winter are you allowing to blossom in spring? I'll put it in the chat in a moment. We've had a tough year. I don't care who you are. We had a tough year, right? And it's fertile. It's a matter of our perspective and how we look at it. So if we flip it and look at and make it an opportunity, what are we wanting to blossom in spring? And then the second question is, what seeds are you planting to harvest this spring? This is a planting ritual we're doing. It's symbolic, right? So I'm going to have you write on your little strips of paper what seeds you want to plant. For instance, I just had a little bitty health scare last month or so. So I'm working on health. You might be working on employment. You might be working on love. You might be working on forgiveness or patience or kindness or grief. It doesn't matter what it is. Only you will see this. And when you're ready, you can write it on your little strip of paper. If you don't have a strip of paper, you can write it in on something else, or just hold it in your consciousness and in your heart. I'm going to put it in the chat, but let me say it again. Thank you for putting that in there, Joshua. I appreciate it. What seeds are you planting this spring? And what lessons from winter are you allowing to blossom in spring? They might be the same. They might be a little different. I'm going to give you 5 minutes, and then I'll call you back. I'll give you a midway point. But what we're going to do is plant it. Either put it on your altar or plant it in your soil. I know it's paper. It's okay. It's symbolic. Or you can plant your seeds. It doesn't matter. 5 minutes in quiet. Duncan, if you have some soft mood music, that would be lovely, darling.
myself. Got the banks to protect my wealth. Got the laws that are keeping me safe. Got the jails gonna lock you away. Feel it in my blood, feel it in my bones. Eats at everything I love, everything I know. It's a hungry other looking for a road to hoe. Give it time, give it space, gonna watch it grow. Gonna watch it grow. Gonna watch it grow. Feel it, feel it, feel it, feel it, feel it, feel it, in my bones. Feel it, feel it, feel it, feel it, feel it, feel it, feel it. Feel it in my head, feel it in my bones. Everything I love, everything I know. It's a hungry hither looking for the road to hoe. Give it time, give it space, gonna watch it grow. Give it time, give it space, gonna watch it grow. Give it time, give it space, gonna watch it grow. Watch it grow. Feel it in my blood, feel it in my bones. Feel it, feel it. Feel it in my blood, feel it in my. Feel it. Feel it in my blood, feel it in my bones. Feel it, feel it. Feel it in my blood, feel it in my bones. Feel it, feel it. Feel it in my blood, feel it in my bones. Feel it, feel it. Feel it in my blood, feel it in my bones. Feel it.
As you take a couple more minutes just to wrap it up, write down at least 3 intentions of what you want to plant this spring that you can carry in your heart, that you can put on your altar. As we bring this segment to a close, I'm going to ring once more the chimes to signify the sacredness of this ritual that you can carry forward into your garden, the garden of your heart, the garden in your yard. Remember to compost, as Erin mentioned, because everything's recyclable in life. And let this be a time that is fertile. I love what Angel said is, she said, I am declaring that whatever you want, claim it now. That is what we're doing. In community, we're claiming it now. So take this into your heart. And I encourage you to write in the chat, what are you planting? So that we can see. What are you planting? Ringing the chime. Before Bethsaida closes us out, I want to see if you're willing to share, what are you planting? Healing, courage, compassion, deep soul breath work for healing. I love it. Surrender, community, dance, connection within and without. Beautiful. Love and liberation, confidence, joy. This beloved community here at Thrive, I'm with you. Clear aim, not just aim, clear aim, integrity, trustworthiness, and then surrender. Very clear. Sweetness with others, humankind, planting joyful and heartful living by intuition and richness in all aspects of life. Beautiful, beautiful. Keep it coming. Thank you, beloveds, for participating, and turning it over to Sister Bethsaida.
Oh, thank you for that. I got to write a lot about what I was planting, and I only thought it was going to be three. Three was going to be hard to come up with, and I had way more than three. So thank you. So yeah, our time has come to a close, and I feel like we could go on for another hour. With all the amazing things that Erin, thank you so much for the work and the time that it's taken you, that it took you to write your book. And I see you just putting in more time as we continue to do the work that it's going to take for us to really recreate a world that we all can be grounded in spirit and sacredness, and re soil the soil, right? Because it needs to be healed. So thank you. I honor you. Thank you for your presence. And I want to thank Angel and Jonathon for the beautiful, just soul music that really touched my bones. And I look forward to just hearing more of what you have to offer. And I'm super interested in your plena, because I come from a community of plena and bomba de Puerto Rico. So yeah, super interested. So thank you. And Duncan is going to be putting up their website connections, where you could find Erin's book. That please go out and get a copy of it, and also Angel's LP that she put out in 2020. I would like to thank Jesse and Kele, who's coming up next, for always bringing your beautiful music to us in this community. And I also want to thank Joshua, who, if it wasn't for him, kind of in the background, pulling all of this together, wouldn't happen. So thank you. And Duncan, for all of your technical work and music. You're amazing. And I love just how you kind of just technologically do all these things, because I'm kind of like, I don't care kind of thing. And Sunshine Michelle, thank you for always just being the light and the strength in this co-hosting team. I appreciate the work that we've done together today and in the past, and look forward to more. I also just want to let you all know that Thrive has two events that are coming up, and you could always check the Thrive East Bay website to see what's happening on a regular basis. But coming up Strive Spiral of Resilience is coming up this Wednesday, the 7th at 5 p.m. And then our next Thrive is going to be on May 2nd with Shelpa John. And is there anything else that I may have forgotten to say or mention or
I think that
anything?
sounds like enough. Joshua, did we catch it all? Anything you want to shout out, Joshua?
He's good. So we're going to close it out with Kele Nitoto, who's going to grace us into a closing song. Kele? Love you, brother. I haven't seen you in so long. It's just beautiful to have your presence here.
You're muted, Kele. You need Duncan to unmute you? Oh, there you
Okay, yeah, that was technical.
go. Oh.
Now we're here. Started at the beginning, now we're here. Hi, everybody. So good to see you all. I'm going to do a quick song, and this song is called As Yet Untitled. It's by Terrence Trent D'Arby. And it's a song that me and my brother used to sing all the time. My brother, Sekou Nitoto, passed a year ago yesterday. And so I want to shout him out. A lot of you all knew him. You know, I'm doing this for him. I'm remembering him, and I'm being grounded in my joy of his memory and, you know, the grief of not having him here anymore, and just the love of all of you. So here this goes. Out by a shanty where the dust hangs high, far from a river where things grow green, the flowers weep and they lean away from the blood-stained soil beneath my feet. The thorns outnumber the petals on the rose, and the darkness amplifies the sound of printers' ink on propaganda page that will rule your life and fuel my rage. I tried to bend my knees, but my knees were already bent. I haven't stood like a man for such a long time now. I called to my gods, but they were sleeping on that day. I guess I'll just have to depend on me. What shall I tell my children if they ask of me? Did I surrender forth my right to be? My daddy died to leave this haunting ground. This same ground still haunts me. cool September blows the seeds away. The harvest blown again this year, but I'll return a stronger man. I'll return to thee, my homeland. No grave shall hold my body down. This land is still my home, but I'll return a stronger man. I return to thee, my homeland. No grave shall hold my body down. This land is still my home. This land is still my home.
Well, let's give
Ashe.
some snaps and claps to Brother Kele from our Thrive Choir, along with Jesse Sachs, our speaker, Erin, Angel and Jonathon, Duncan on tech, Bethsaida co-host, Joshua, thank you always, Thrive community. Oh my gosh, do I love you. Love you. Have a great spring and
Thank you
harvest.
all. Oh.
Yay.
And as we continue to live in these dying times, I just want you all to just keep a picture of your community and all of us who are here as we continue to move on to holding each other and holding our memories as we move forward in these times that are so critical at this point. And thank you for your souls.
Thank
So
you,
glad
everyone.
that you brought Sekou into the room,
Yes.
feeling his spirit.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Blessing your cat, Erin. Hi, Jesse.
Love y'all. Love all of
Love
y'all
everybody.
so
Thanks,
much.
everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, Nikki.
It was beautiful.
Bye.
Ah, come off mute, I suppose. Say
Hello,
bye.
y'all.
Yes, gracias.
Great program.
Thank you.
Blessings.
Annalise.
Great talk.
Blessings.
Aaron. Yeah.
Ground it, y'all.
Thank you, Duncan. Thank you, Bethsaida. Thank you, sometime Michelle.
Yeah. Thanks,
Aaron, whoa.
Whoa.
Thank you.
Yeah.